Hi, Lee here. So last video I started staining the body and then I was going to spray some nitrocellulose, undercoat nitrocellulose over it. So I've done quite a few coats of that, but that's just drying at the moment. I might be able to show you what that looks like later, but it looks really good. I'm really happy with it. So for this video I thought I'd start off on the neck now. So having a closer look at this neck, if you remember I got it from a company called Boo Boo Guitars. There are some imperfections in there. It wasn't straight, so I've had to adjust the truss rod quite a bit just to pull it straight. It's a compound radius on there, which is nice, and of course it's got the flame maple on there. But there are some discolorations and some scuff marks on there that I want to get rid of. But before I do any of that, I'll probably cut my headstock shape out. But let's see how we get on. I'll give you a closer look and we can go through what I need to do on this. So first of all, I've got the headstock shape to cut out. There's some discoloration at the top that I can hide. I might put a piece of stain around there or put something over it. I don't know if you can see that, but there are a few chips and scuff marks in here, which I can sand down quite easily. Also, I don't know if you can see, the neck isn't completely straight at this end part. There's a bit of a ridge. It's hard to see there, but there is a ridge. So I'll try and sand that down to make it a little bit smoother, and also see if I can bring out that flame pattern a bit more before I put some oil on it just to protect it and hopefully bring out that pattern. And then once I'm happy with that, I will then start putting the frets in. I've actually got a fret press tool being delivered next week sometime, so I'm going to wait until that arrives. If you remember at the beginning, the reason I bought parts in already pre-built is I just want to practice a couple of different things. So first of all, it was obviously staining or colouring a body. I've never done that before. The second thing is to set up a neck perfectly with the fretwork that I'm completely happy with. I've done 5 guitars already now, as you're aware, and the fretwork's pretty good on them considering I'm an amateur, but this is the one I want it to be absolutely perfect, everything in and smooth, and I can get the action right down. One final thing I was testing, I actually just had some of those cheap dots, if you can see that. They're just stick-on dots, but they look like abalone or abalone, not sure how you say it. I've put one on there, don't know if you can see that, so I'm just wondering if I should put them on all of the black dots, because these black dots are just painted on, I believe. They're just black sort of paint dots. So I might stick the stickers on those, but I'll decide that later. Anyway, for now, let's get on and cut the headstock shape, and we'll see where we go from there. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'll finish it on my sander, but there's the basic shape cut out. Now just to sand it down. That's the headstock cut out, which is nice. Now all it is just a bit of hand sanding over the whole thing, I'll start with some 180 grit sandpaper, and then I'll move up to the finer stuff as I go along, just to get rid of all the edges, get the shape nice, and get it ready for the oil. So that's the neck pretty much sanded and ready now to do the frets. But before you put any frets in, I was looking online, and another top tip, which everyone says really helps the next person if the frets ever need to be changed. Now obviously I'm not going to sell this guitar, this is my own guitar, but you should always get like a triangular file, a very small sort of modelling file, and you put the point into each fret and you just slightly sand in between the fret slot just to take the edges off. The idea is if you ever have to replace a fret, when you pull the fret up, it won't chip and pull any of the fretboard wood with it. So that's what I'm going to do. That's the tip I saw online in several places. So what I'm going to do is take my very small triangular file and I'll just go in between the fret slots before I start putting the frets in. So with that done, all I need to do now is give it one last very light sand just to take all of these edges off, and then pull a little tool between the frets just to try and clean any dust left over. And then the next job is to start cutting and pressing the frets in. So let's just get this cleaned up and we'll carry on. I'm using, I think it's a 600 grit sandpaper, and I'm not pressing down at all. I'm just using the lightest touch just to finish this fingerboard nicely. So that's feeling really nice and smooth now. I'll just drag out in between the frets, and then I'll just give it one last wipe with the cloth, and then we'll start putting the frets in. The body's dried enough now. I thought I'd give you a quick look at what it looks like so far. It's looking really good. I'm so happy with it. Don't know if you can see that properly on the camera, but the light shining on it, you can still see the lovely wood grain underneath. I love that dark blue colour. I've still got a couple more coats to put on there. I'm going to use the whole can on it just to make sure it's sealed and thick, and then I'll see what I can do about trying to polish it up a little bit. But I'm so happy with this at the moment. It's looking really good, so I just can't wait to get that neck done and put it together now. So we'll see this later on, but this is it so far. A couple more coats to go, and then we'll start doing the fretwork.